Hello and welcome to PalaceFanTV for our Aston Villa preview video. And to do that, I've got a Villa fan with me. It's Stephen Green from the Aston Villa Review Podcast. How you doing, mate?
I think you know the answer to that one, Jim.
Could be better, maybe. Could be better. Well, okay, well, let's start off then. It's Villa Palace on Tuesday night. But Villa played Wickham at the weekend in the FA Cup. We saw protests from Villa fans to the players, I think, when they were getting on the coach after the game. It seems that everything's kind of very angry at Villa at the moment. Is that a representation of all the fans at the moment?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, you know, everybody's hurting, and no one likes the situation we're in, and understandably. But you know, abusing the players. You know, they did it before they got off the coach, before the game. So you know, you're setting a precedent there, and then again afterwards. So I'm not really on board with the whole abusing the players thing. I mean, okay, they've got to take accountability for how badly they've played at parts of the season, but you know, the problems that the club has are so deep rooted that there's things that the players can't do, and I just think, you know, calling them every other word under the sun isn't the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So what is going wrong? Because the Villa squad on paper, it's not a bad squad at all. There's some experienced Premier League players in there. There's some good up and coming youngsters. So where are the problems? Are they more off the pitch?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got an absent owner who, you know, nobody knows what this guy's thinking at all because he made very few trips over last season. I think he's made even less this year. He's still trying to sell, but then there's people saying, well, he's talking like he's invested in the club again, and he. You know, that's funny because he's not actually investing in the club again. We brought on a sort of whole new backroom staff, guys like Tom Fox and Paddy Riley, guys who've done well elsewhere in different roles but are new to the roles that they've got here. So they're obviously going to be teething problems. And you've got people like Stan Collymore who just sort of mercilessly rip into these guys without taking everything into account to sort of get everybody up in a frenzy. And then on top of that, you know, last season we had a pretty strong core. So we had Ron Vlaar, Fabian Delph and Christian Benteke as the core of the team. And that, as you know, got ripped out over the summer. And I think the players that we brought in are good players and are capable of replacing them, apart from up front perhaps. But that, you know, it's a lot to ask to just hit the ground running when they've come into a new league and you know, there's 7 or 8 new players all in the first team at the same time. It's a lot to ask them to, you know, do what these guys did, you know, control play the way these guys did last year. And I just don't think some of them good players, players that probably would have been too good for us next season if we'd waited. But of course, if we had waited, we wouldn't have got them. So, you know.
It sounds really like a bit of an impossible task then for Remi Garde coming in. I mean, how do Villa fans feel about him? Is he doing okay, or is it really kind of, you know, an impossible task for him?
It is a bit of an impossible task, really. I mean, the problems are so deep rooted. He said it himself the other day. You can't fix it in just 2 months. But you know, it's been 10 games now. He hasn't managed to get a win. I don't think he's managed to bring in his backroom staff that he wanted to get as well. So that's obviously hindered him. But I like him. There's been a sort of rumours of a poisonous atmosphere running through the club of coming from long-standing players. And he's sort of, you know, they're noticeable because they're not in the squad now. And he's not playing favourites. So like kids like Jack Grealish, who, you know, had a great year last year, hasn't come anywhere close to repeating what he did. Yeah, he's still seen out on the town after we're losing 3-4-0, getting drunk with his mates. You know, he's been cut, he's been dropped. So, you know, he's not playing favourites, and I like that. And I think what he needs is a friend, you know, in the dressing room. He needs someone that's got his back and can be his eyes when he's not around and sort of keep everybody in shape. And I think Jordan Ayew is going to be that guy, but whether he's going to be here next year or not, you know, remains to be seen.
Do you think Villa can turn it around? I mean, it's a pretty long haul now to stay up. Are you resigned to relegation?
Yeah, we're gone. We're so far gone. It's I mean, I know Leicester did it last season, but last season you had half the bottom table could have gone down. There isn't that this year. There are 3 or 4 teams down there that are going to join us. So the gap's widening, and the gap's too wide between bottom and 19th anyway. So it's going to take something monumental to turn it around. I just don't think we've got it in us.
Well, look, moving to the game on Tuesday night, Palace obviously you've got pretty good away from home, got a better away from home record than we have at home. Won at Southampton at the weekend. How are you feeling about it? Yeah, how do you feel?
we ain't going to win. I said to your mate at the Eagles beat the other day, how it's going to go is you'll score first. Then in the second half, we'll come out and we'll play all right and we'll get one back. And then after about 10, 15 minutes of sustained pressure, but with no end product, you'll score a late one and probably a third as well, just because that's what we do.
Well, that's almost exactly what happened at Southampton, to be honest. At the weekend, they scored at the start of the second half and we came back into it. Yeah, I mean, you could probably put money on that. At least if you back that, with the bookies, at least you'll make some money off it.
Yeah, it's the only silver lining at the moment, really.
It's a real shame, though, isn't it? Because Villa are an established Premier League club, and they've been up for a long time, and it's a real shame to see it unravelling in the way it is, really. And that's from a fan of outside the club.
Well, we felt like it's been coming for a while. The last 5 years we haven't been good, and we've almost been doing what we call doing a Wigan, where you're sort of circling the drain for so long, and then eventually you're just going to drop. But I don't think anybody saw it happening this way, where we're dead and buried at Christmas. I thought, if we were going to go down, it would have been by a 3-point margin in 18th or something. But it's something that not a lot of us have experience of. The last time Villa were relegated, I think I was 2 years old, so I have absolutely no memory of it. And I grew up in the 90s when we were winning trophies and in Europe all the time, so I thought that's what it was always going to be like. But the club's just been ran into the ground. It's been ran terribly. And with football changing the way it is, if you don't get things right at the boardroom level, it doesn't really matter what happens on the pitch.
Yeah, very true. Well, listen, as a man who's watched his team get relegated a record number of times from the Premier League, let me tell you, it's not too bad. It's not the end of the world, and you can recover. Listen, I wish you all the best for the rest of the season, apart from on Tuesday night, obviously. But I would love to see Villa dig out. It'd be fantastic if they did, but I suspect you won't. But never mind. Listen, thank you for joining me.
No, thank you.
I really appreciate chatting to you, Stephen. So check out the Aston Villa Review podcast because I'm sure it's fantastic and I'm sure they'll need some love for the rest of the season. So do that. But also subscribe to PalaceFanTV for all our videos, preview and review. Comment below how do you think the score's going to be. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Snapchat. And we'll see you again very soon. Cheers.